The Trinidad and Tobago government opposition in agreement on who the next president will be. That's our top story in Caribbean Newsline for Tuesday, January 9. From the CMC News Center in Bridgetown, I'm Nicole Best. Good evening. Trinidad and Tobago's opposition has thrown its support behind the government's nominee for next president of the Twin Island Republic. It means that Paula May Weeks will become the first woman to hold that post in the country. Opposition leader Kamala Persad-Bissessar told a news conference on Monday that she co-signed Weeks' nomination for the position, which will become vacant at the end of March when Anthony Carmona demits office.
Having carefully considered the government's nominee in the person of Madam Justice Paula May Weeks, we took the decision to support the nominee of this government.
Madam Justice Paula May Weeks has been given 2 thumbs up, and on January 19th will be declared this country's 6th president, the first female to hold the post. Just hours before the nomination deadline, the opposition called a news conference to say that 4 of its members signed on the dotted line, paving the way for Weeks to be the sole nominee.
I would say as of now, Madam Justice Paula May Weeks is the president-designate of Trinidad and Tobago.
According to Kamala Persad-Bissessar, the opposition raised 2 concerns about the constitutional requirements and wrote to the government over the weekend. With Weeks appointed a Court of Appeal judge in Turks and Caicos, the Constitution disqualifies anyone who is not an ordinary resident of this country for the past 10 years. It also disqualifies anyone who may be a voluntary citizen of another country or who may be under a declaration of allegiance. Persad-Bissessar says Minister Stuart Young assured the opposition that Weeks met all the constitutional requirements.
We take the government at their word. I trust that we will not find out later down the road that we were wrong so to do.
As the country's first female Attorney General, opposition leader and Prime Minister, Persad-Bissessar said supporting this nomination was significant.
Not just because she's a woman, but because from the information, all the information made available to us, she appears deserving of this particular office.
As for her concerns about the next president being a mouthpiece or puppet of the government, Persad-Bissessar said she has no evidence of such and Weeks is a deserving candidate.
And on the same day, a decision was made about Trinidad and Tobago's new head of state. The country's 4th president, Professor George Maxwell Richards, died. The 86-year-old suffered cardiac arrest around 7:45 p.m. on Monday and passed away with his wife, Dr. Jean Richards, and his children at his side. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley said the nation has lost a much-loved son of the soil. He said Richards, who served in office from 2003 to 2013, carried out his duties with class and distinction, even as he remained grounded in his love for all things Trinidad and Tobago. The Prime Minister said flags on public buildings will be flown at half-mast in accordance with the directive of the Minister of National Security. And Richards is passing. All of the Twin Islands' former presidents are now deceased. Meantime, Dame Sandra Mason was sworn in as Barbados' 8th head of state. She replaces Sir Elliot Belgrave, who retired on July 1st, 2017, after serving for 5 years. Dame Sandra is the second female to be installed as Governor General in Barbados. Speaking at her installation ceremony in the Senate on Monday afternoon, Dame Sandra said she accepted the position fully aware that she is the beneficiary of the efforts of many courageous women who have gone before her. But she also noted that she did not view her role solely in the context of her being a woman.
I am fully cognizant that in this office it is my duty to serve all who constitute Barbadian society, its men, its women, and its children. As we are all acutely aware, our country is facing a challenging period, both locally and in the global context. But as anxious as these challenges may make us, they have nevertheless provided us with opportunities to devise and implement major legislative, regulatory, fiscal, and operational reforms. How we emerge will hinge on our ability to regroup and draw on our collective strengths as a people to ensure that we are able to march proudly and gallantly into the future.
Prior to becoming Governor General, Dame Sandra served as a Justice of Appeal in the Supreme Court in Barbados and Judge of the Eastern Caribbean Supreme Court. She also worked in her earlier years as Registrar of the Supreme Court in Barbados and held the post of Resident Ambassador to Venezuela, Colombia, Chile, and Brazil. Jamaica's Minister of State in the Ministry of National Security is calling for more prayers as the murder toll rises above 40 just 9 days into the new year. Addressing a prayer session for staff of the Fort Augusta Adult Correctional Center, Colonel Charles Jr. said the crime situation is out of hand and must be addressed frontally.
The greatest weapon that is on this earth is within us. And the only thing that I believe that can stop the brain sometimes is the heart. And the heart must be wrapped up and must be filled with the right kind of elements. And that comes from us understanding that if we are not guided by the right spirit, then you are guided by the wrong.
Charles added that in order to see a reduction in crime, people must first value themselves.
Because if you value yourself, you're more likely to value another person. And if you value yourself, you're more likely to make a decision that shows and demonstrates that you value your community. And so that is something we have to do across 2018, every day, every month. You get up in the morning and you look in the mirror. First person you must value is you. When you pray, you ever pray for yourself? You know, I know people who go down on their knees and they pray for every God person. Dear Lord, please guide and protect my mother, my father, my wife, my brothers, my sisters, the community. All, even those evil who hate me. Amen. Pray for yourself.
Meantime, a double murder in Trinidad and Tobago has taken the death toll for the year so far to 21. Just after 3 p.m. on Monday, gunmen opened fire on a taxi in the Morvant area that was taking students home at the end of their first day of school. The driver and a 14-year-old student who was sitting in the front passenger seat were hit in the hail of bullets before the vehicle burst into flames. As we hear in this report from TV6's Mark Bassant, police investigating the incident are going on the premise that the shooting was in retaliation for another killing in the same area the night before.
Investigators told TV6 News that the shooting occurred just after 3 p.m. as a taxi, a gold Mazda 323, was making its way up Pelican Extension near the Morris Marshall Recreation Ground, just on the border of Chumakak-Laventil, when gunmen opened fire on the vehicle. The driver, police say, was carrying several school children in the heavily tinted vehicle, who they say he had picked up near the Success Laventil Secondary School. Sources say 2 gunmen continuously shot at the vehicle. 4 of the school children inside the car were able to escape. One was grazed by a bullet under his left eye and shot in his arm. The other 3 were not hurt. But 15-year-old Joshua Andrews, who police believe was shot in the head, died as he fell over onto the roadway as the car burst into flames. Hernandez, who they believe was also shot, was also consumed in the blaze. Police are working on the theory that the killing was triggered by Sunday night's killing of Pereira, who was shot dead mere meters from this crime scene. They say the killers had used a gold-colored car that was heavily tinted in Pereira's killing, and gunmen from the area thought it was the same vehicle that Hernandez had been driving, and so opened fire. Concern was etched on the faces of the residents as they looked on, some saying the killings had saddened them. Hernandez's mother had to be supported by relatives as she made her way to the crime scene. Briefly speaking to TV6 News, she said she was still trying to find words to describe the loss of her son.
And still to come in Caribbean Newsline, a backlog of more than 10,000 cases in Guyana's courts. Stay with us. There's more news after this break. Grow your business or promote your event through the services offered by the Caribbean Media Corporation and Carib Vision. Our distribution provides a platform on cable, terrestrial television, and websites. We cover carnivals and events from across the region. We can bring your event live and alive to the world. For music makers, program producers, businesses, we can expand your reach to in excess of 2 million households daily. Our other services include news updates to enhance your media products, studio space for program and development. We can facilitate the launch of new products and services and training. Contact us and we will help you unleash your creative ability, develop products and services, and provide the medium to watch them grow. Contact Loretta Skeet at cmccaribbean.com or call her 1-246-467-1044 or 1-246-253-3889. Call and book your carnival or event today.
Did you know that a strategy has been developed to help improve the region's education and human resources?
You didn't? Well, the HID strategy, as it is called, will guide CARICOM in how it delivers quality education and training to the people of the region.
The strategy has been crafted by a group of experts called the HRD Commission.
Consultations have been done across the region to get your input.
Do you know that none of us will be left behind?
The HRD strategy is important to all of us, students, parents, and employers. It will prepare the region, especially the youth, for the 21st century economy and society.
The HRD strategy, unlocking Caribbean human potential.
The accident happened 6 years ago when a friend of a friend pushed Christy into some shallow water.
Turned out to be a nice day.
Christy Elliott's life changed in one split second.
This is my office / guest room.
Okay. Now, you are able to operate your computer.
I am.
So you're able to use a keyboard.
Continuing in Guyana, where there are more than 10,000 cases congesting the country's judicial system, and Attorney General Basil Williams says assistance to expedite those cases has been minimal. He pointed to the issue of donor fatigue and highlighted some of the measures he thinks could be used to offset the problem in the interim. We get more in this HGP Nightly News report.
In 2014, President Donald Ramotar had increased the number of High Court judges from 11 to 20 to help reduce the backlog of cases. But it seemed as though that strategy did not yield sufficient rewards, as the clogging of the courts system kept increasing. That's how Attorney General Basil Williams described the situation on Monday.
We have a lot of cases. There are tens. The last count we had was 10,000, but there's far more that are backlogged.
The government had earlier suggested to retain judges, supplemented by the establishment of night courts, to help with the issue of huge backlog of cases. But according to Mr. Williams, support for these initiatives have not materialized. He said he had approached the Inter-American Development Bank for assistance, but the IDB had not indicated a willingness to assist, since the institution had helped the previous administration in this regard, but saw no meaningful results.
I believe, though, that measures such as having a transparent process like the digital voice verbatim recording system in courtrooms will speed up trials and hearings and give you an accurate record, and you know, the evidence is recorded electronically and you could get a printout within a short space of time. As you know, there was a pilot project funded by the IDB for that, but as I indicated, when I came in here, I discovered at the behest of the last chancellor, he discovered the equipment were hidden in here by Mr. Nandalan, rather than putting it out there in the courtrooms.
The Attorney General said that he is resolute to ensure that there is access to justice.
And that there's speedy justice. And we will have to look at having these measures put in our courtrooms in order to have the administration of justice being fostered in Ghana.
Mr. Williams expressed the hope that when the Chancellor and Chief Justice are confirmed, works can move full speed ahead to clear the backlog.
A manual to guide healthcare professionals in Jamaica on the procedures for helping human trafficking victims has been launched. The standard operating procedures were created by the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons, along with the Ministries of Health and Justice. The manual has been touted as important in the country's efforts to curb the instances of human trafficking. We get more in this report from TVJ News.
A manual guiding healthcare professionals on how to identify and help suspected victims of human trafficking was launched on Monday, as it is believed that these professionals are sometimes the first to see such cases. That's because the victims are often injured sexually or physically while being held by their captors and then taken to healthcare facilities for treatment.
And so it's very important that our healthcare workers engage in primary care, emergency care, mental health, pediatrics and so on, are positioned to identify such persons, as well as not just persons who are actually involved or caught up in that kind of situation, but also to identify persons who are positioned to be exploited because of other reasons.
And Secretary in the Justice Ministry, Carol Palmer, notes that a recent report indicated that up to 88% of victims end up at a healthcare facility. And so, the manual is critical in Jamaica's effort to stop human trafficking.
Trafficking victims are under the control of these awful human beings. And they can't walk by themselves. They can't go anywhere by themselves. So if they're not feeling well, it's the trafficker that's going to take them to get attention. This puts health professionals in a pivotal role to identify and assist trafficked individuals as well as those who may be at risk.
The document guides in the collection of pertinent information about identification, stabilization of patients, as well as rescuing the victim and bringing the perpetrators to justice.
These SOPs recommend that the authorities should not be called without the consent of the victim. In light of the potentially legitimate concerns regarding the well-being of victims and their loved ones, and that's a reality that a victim of human trafficking faces daily. On the other hand, this constraint does not apply in the case of children and adolescents who may require immediate placement in state care.
And ahead of Newsline Sport reports that Trinidad and Tobago may host this year's final of the Caribbean Premier League. Stay with us. Sport is next.
Did you know that a strategy has been developed to help improve the region's education and human resources?
You didn't? Well, the HID strategy, as it is called, will guide CARICOM in how it delivers quality education and training to the people of the region.
The strategy has been crafted by a group of experts called the HRD Commission.
Consultations have been done across the region to get your input.
Do you know that none of us will be left behind?
The HRD strategy is important to all of us, students, parents, and employers. It will prepare the region, especially the youth, for the 21st century economy and society.
The HRD strategy, unlocking Caribbean human potential.
You can add a little bit of the oil as well. So the more oil you put is the softer it's gonna be. And the longer you let it rest, is the fluffier and softer it's gonna come out. So now what I'm gonna do is just form it into small balls. I'm gonna form mine really small because we're gonna spread this out thin.
Jonathan, what is the picture you have in your mind of what has been happening in Syria? How rapidly was it, in your opinion, that the United States effectively took the opposition over?
Well, the United States supported the opposition pretty much from the beginning, and the American ambassador in Damascus, Robert Ford, actually went and supported.
Well, there are reports that Trinidad and Tobago may host this year's final of the Caribbean Premier League. The 6th edition of the region's most prestigious cricket tournament is set to bowl off in August, with the final set for September 9th at an unconfirmed venue. But Trinidad and Tobago Cricket Board President Azim Basarath says it's quite interesting that TNT would be bidding for the finals of the CPL when it did not bid to host the Women's World Cup.
It's too early to hear that the CPL coming back. Finals coming back, and with the intentions of spending over $5 million, and the government couldn't get $500,000 to guarantee, and which we also said that we were willing to give off $500,000 from our sports subvention.
TNT has since held 3 finals of the CPL at the Queen's Park Oval in 2013 and 2015, and last year at the Brian Lara Cricket Academy. The other 2 finals were held at Warner Park in St. Kitts. Staying with cricket, Barbados Pride, led by half-centuries from Shamar Brooks and Shane Mosley, chose discretion as the best part of valor and settled for a draw with Windward Islands Volcanoes in the Regional 4-Day Championship on Sunday. Brooks, the Pride captain, stroked a typically effortless unbeaten 69, and Mosley was not out on 57 as the Pride reached 135 for 1 in their second innings. That was before the 2 teams decided it was pointless to continue about 20 minutes before the scheduled close of the final day of their 8th round match at Kensington Oval. The pair chose to improve their aggregates and averages, as well as gain meaningful batting practice, sharing 125 unbroken for the second wicket, knowing that the prospect of a victory which would keep the championship alive was out of the question, and that's following the complete washout on Saturday's 3rd day. The result meant that Guyana Jaguars were confirmed champions for a 4th straight year, as their victory the previous day over Jamaica Scorpions moved them to an unassailable 135 points. In that nerve-jangling contest between Jaguars and Scorpions on Saturday, the run chase was carried by opener Chandra Paul, who top-scored with 40, while Kimo Paul got 21. Jaguars collapsed from 64 for 2 to 84 for 6 as they lost 4 wickets for 22 runs in quick time, and Jason Campbell held his nerve to blast leg spinner Imran Khan for a straight 6 and propel Leeward Islands Hurricanes to an exciting 1-wicket victory over Trinidad and Tobago Red Force inside 3 days on Saturday. Chasing 222 for victory at Queen's Park Oval, Hurricanes found themselves in strife on 205 for 9, still requiring a further 17 runs to win their 8th round contest. But the left-handed Campbell, batting at number 10, slammed 3 sixes in an audacious unbeaten 30 off 22 deliveries to stun Red Force and lift Hurricanes to only their 2nd win in an up-and-down season. Well, Jamaica Scorpions captain Nikita Miller heaped his praises on his team despite the side losing to Jaguars over the weekend. Set a 136 for victory at Sabina Park on the third day, Jaguars stumbled and stuttered their way to their target before achieving victory 45 minutes before the scheduled close.
The first innings was, a very well done job by my team, and to after scoring 104 runs in our first innings and to, make a game out of it like this, credit must go to the team.
And Jaguars head coach Isan Crandon gave the bowlers credit for their performance.
Very close, and we expected. I thought Jamaica played some very good cricket. We held our nerve for the end to get the win, and I'm very happy about that. Having said so, we didn't really bat well in both first and second innings.
West Indies' two highest-ranked players, Craig Brathwaite and Kemar Roach, lost ground but remained in the top 20 of the International Cricket Council's player rankings released on Tuesday. Opener Brathwaite dropped one place to 18th in the batting rankings, while Kemar Roach also slipped to one spot to 20th in the bowling rankings. The pair are the only Caribbean players in the top 20 of either set of rankings. Brathwaite scored 706 runs in 10 tests last year, mirroring his career average of 37 per innings to surge into the top 20 in the world. He managed a single 134 in the first innings of the Leeds' second test against England, which West Indies won by 5 wickets last August. Roach, meanwhile, snatched 25 wickets in 7 tests last year at an average of 25 after being recalled for the England tour following 18 months on the sidelines. 3 other Windies players sit in the top 50 of the batting rankings: Shea Hope at 31st, Roston Chase at 38th and Darren Bravo at 41st, though the left-hander has not played a test in 14 months. In bowling, speedster Shannon Gabriel lies 21st and leg spinner Devendra Bishu is at 23rd, while Windies captain Jason Holder sits at 34th. And finally, Grenadian-born West Indies cricketer Affy Fletcher has once again copped the title of Sportswoman of the Year. Blossom Alexis Welch of GBN Sports tells us more.
Affy Fletcher has been named the 2017 Sportswoman of the Year for the 3rd consecutive time and 4th overall at the National Sports Awards staged by the Grenada Olympics Committee last Friday. A total of 21 nominees were submitted by 13 affiliates of the GOC for adjudication in both the male and female categories. Affy's accomplishments for 2017 included being named on West Indies women's teams through all formats of the game, which also comprised of a tour with the World Cup team last July, and she also snagged figures such as 5 wickets for 12 runs and 7 wickets for 13 runs.
It's a lot to me. Just as always, just continue to work hard and just reap the success. So it means a lot to me.
What are your plans for 2018?
Well, just to continue to keep fit, keep myself in form, because there's plenty of cricket coming up, including the Women's World T20. So what I'm trying to do is just keep myself fit and be ready for when cricket action takes place.
The Sportsman of 2017 award was presented to Lyndon Victor, who ended the year as the 5th ranked in the world in decathlon, was named SEC Men's Athlete of the Year in the U.S., and is a current national record holder in the 10-discipline sport.
And that's the sport. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Again, the major developments of this day, Trinidad and Tobago's opposition supports the government's nominee for next president of the Twin Island Republic, the first woman, Paula May Weeks. And in sport, reports that Trinidad and Tobago may host this year's final of the Caribbean Premier League. That's Caribbean Newsline. For news and sport around the clock, log on to CondaNews.com. We'll be back here again tomorrow. But from all of us at CMC News, thank you for watching and do have yourselves a good night.